There are 26 known dragons in the House of Dragons, Game of Thrones universe, and even more riders with somewhat similar names from complicated family trees full of incest. Let's make it all clear in this video without any spoilers for the upcoming House of Dragons episodes. So, of those 26 dragons, 3 were living in the Game of Thrones timeline, way after the events of House of Dragons. They are Drogon, Rhaegal, and Viserion. 2 were living way before the events of House of Dragons. 3 were wild dragons in Dragonstone, never been claimed or ridden. 6 were already claimed by Team Black. 3 were on Team Green. That leaves us with 9 unclaimed dragons to be seen in future episodes. But first, let's start with Team Black. Syrax, the beautiful golden dragon ridden by Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen, the leader of Team Black. Syrax laid several clutches of eggs during her lifetime, many of which eventually hatched and were ridden by Team Black. Caraxes, ridden by Prince Daemon Targaryen, known as the Blood Worm. Moondancer, a small and nimble dragon with pale green scales that shimmered like moonlight, giving her a graceful and almost ethereal appearance. Despite her relatively petite size, she was fast and agile. Moondancer was ridden by Baela Targaryen, the courageous daughter of Prince Daemon Targaryen and Lady Lyanna Velaryon. Baela has a twin sister, Rhaena Targaryen, whose dragon egg hasn't hatched yet. We will see if she can claim a dragon in the coming episodes. Vermax, a young, vibrant dragon with emerald green scales and an energetic demeanor. Ridden by Prince Jacaerys Velaryon, the eldest son of Rhaenyra Targaryen. Although not shown on screen, Vermax participated in missions to gain the support of the Northern Lords. Arrax, a relatively young and inexperienced dragon, ridden by Prince Lucerys Velaryon, the second son of Rhaenyra Targaryen. At the end of Season 1, Arrax accompanied Lucerys on a diplomatic mission to Storm's End to secure the support of House Baratheon. However, they encountered Vhagar and Prince Aemon Targaryen, and were swiftly overpowered and killed. This marked the beginning of the Civil War. Both Arrax and Vermax are direct offspring of Syrax, Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen's dragon. Now on Team Green, Vhagar. One of the original dragons brought to Westeros by the Targaryens and still lived around the House of Dragon timeline. Vhagar was therefore one of the oldest and biggest dragons at the time. Vhagar was so large that one could ride a horse down her gullet. Her scales were a dark bronze-green color, giving her an imposing and ancient appearance. Her wingspan was vast, casting a shadow over entire fields as she flew, and her roars could be heard from miles away. Vhagar's fire was potent enough to melt stone and metal, and her combat prowess was legendary. She was initially ridden by Queen Visenya Targaryen during the Targaryen conquest, alongside Balerion of Aegon the Conqueror and Meraxes of Queen Rhaenys Targaryen. We saw in Season 1 that Lady Lyanna Velaryon was able to claim Vhagar, but she didn't live past Season 1, leaving Vhagar unclaimed. Finally, Prince Aemon Targaryen, son of Alicent Hightower of Team Green, claimed Vhagar. Vhagar is so formidable that she alone makes both sides comparable despite Team Green having fewer dragons. But Vhagar may not be the most formidable dragon. Wait until the end of this video to find out. Sunfyre, often referred to as Sunfyre the Golden. The dragon had gleaming gold scales, which shone like beaten gold in the sunlight, and pale pink wing membranes. His flames were golden as well. By many accounts, Sunfyre was the most beautiful dragon ever seen in the known world. Sunfyre's egg hatched on Dragonstone originally, but he is said to have bonded with King Aegon II Targaryen from a young age. Dreamfyre. Dreamfyre was a magnificent dragon known for her striking beauty and grace, with scales that shimmered in shades of blue and silver, reminiscent of moonlight on water. She was initially bonded to Princess Rhaena Targaryen, the granddaughter of Aegon the Conqueror. She fought in the First Civil War before the events of House of Dragons. She spent much of her later years in the Dragon Pit at King's Landing. Dreamfyre was one of the older dragons, but because she was kept inside the pit, her size is not as big as others born around the same time. We saw in Season 1 that Aemon tried to claim her but wasn't successful. She was later claimed by his sister, Princess Helaena Targaryen. So to recap, the black has 6 at the moment and the green has 3, but the green has the Vhagar, the biggest. So we don't really know which side has more firepower. That would make the next 9 unclaimed ones so important. We don't know for sure which team they would eventually join, but we have some idea based on their current location. Tessarion, also known as the Blue Queen, a beautiful blue she-dragon. Her wings were a dark cobalt, while her claws, crest, and belly scales were the color of bright beaten copper. Her flames were uniquely cobalt blue in color as well. As of the end of Episode 3, Season 2, Tessarion hasn't appeared on the show nor been ridden yet, but she is said to be in King's Landing, and is bonded with Prince Daeron Targaryen, the fourth child of Alicent Hightower. Daeron is in Old Town, the capital city of the Hightower House, so Tessarion is likely on Team Green. Two more young dragons likely on Team Green are Morgul and Shrykos. They were born from eggs placed in the cradle of Prince Jaehaerys and his twin sister, Princess Jaehaera. We saw Prince Jaehaerys was murdered at the beginning of Season 2, and his sister is very young. The fate of these two dragons remains to be seen. Tyraxes. This dragon hasn't appeared on the show yet, but it was mentioned by Daemon Targaryen at the end of Season 1 as one of the dragons on their side, Team Black. The egg for Tyraxes was placed in the cradle of Joffrey Balerion, the third child of Rhaenyra Targaryen and Sir Laenor Velaryon. At the current time in the show, Tyraxes is young and not battle-ready yet. Two dragons haven't hatched yet, but likely on Team Black are Morning and Stormcloud. Morning is a pale pink she-dragon. The egg was one of the 3 eggs produced by Rhaenyra's she-dragon Syrax. The egg that eventually hatched into Stormcloud was placed in the cradle of Prince Aegon the Younger, the son of Rhaenyra and Daemon Targaryen. We briefly saw him in a scene in Episode 2. Seasmoke is an interesting one. The young, pale, silver-gray dragon was ridden by Sir Laenor Velaryon, the first husband of Rhaenyra Targaryen. We saw Seasmoke in the Stepstone battle. In the show, Laenor faked his death but survived and went hidden. So technically Seasmoke still has a rider, but practically we don't know. All we know is that Seasmoke is in Dragonstone, so likely will be in Team Black. Two older and riderless dragons currently in Dragonstone are Vermithor and Silverwing. Vermithor, known as the Bronze Fury, was one of the mightiest dragons in the history of Westeros. He was originally ridden by King Jaehaerys I Targaryen, as seen in the show intro's tapestry. After King Jaehaerys' death, Vermithor remained riderless for many years. We saw Daemon Targaryen visited and said hi to Vermithor at the end of Season 1. We also see Vermithor in the Season 2 trailer together with Rhaenyra Targaryen. So likely, Vermithor will be a force for Team Black. Silverwing, a magnificent dragon known for her shimmering silver scales that glisten like polished metal in the sunlight, was initially ridden by Queen Alysanne Targaryen, the beloved wife of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen. Silverwing and Alysanne shared a deep bond. After Queen Alysanne's death, Silverwing returned to Dragonstone and remained riderless for many years. So to recap, of 9 dragons currently unclaimed or unsured, Team Black has the upper hand on 6 of them. But in the Westeros universe, we can never be sure until we see it. You know, before we talk about the biggest and mightiest dragon alive, let's quickly pay tributes to the mighty but dead ones. Balerion, known as the Black Dread, was the largest and most fearsome of all the Targaryen dragons. His scales were coal black, and his eyes burned like molten fire. He was the dragon of Aegon the Conqueror, and played a crucial role in the Targaryen conquest of Westeros. The huge skull of Balerion was kept in the Red Keep in King's Landing. Meraxes was one of the 3 great dragons used by the Targaryens during their conquest of Westeros, ridden by Rhaenys Targaryen, sister wife of Aegon the Conqueror. Meraxes had silver scales and eyes that shone like pale moons. Meraxes was killed during the First Dornish War, being struck down by a scorpion bolt. We also see her skull in Dragonstone through various scenes. The other of the 3 great dragons in the original conquest of Westeros is Vhagar herself, still alive. We covered her in the Team Green section already. Last but certainly not least in size, the Wild Dragons. Grey Ghost, a pale gray-white wild dragon living in Dragonstone. He was a notably shy dragon who avoided men and their works for years at a time, hence the name, Sheepstealer. A wild male, ugly, mud-brown dragon with a taste for mutton. He lived at the back of Dragonmont and would hunt between Driftmark and Wendwater. Now last but not least, the most mysterious, aggressive, and brutal of them all, the Cannibal. He was black as coal, with menacing green eyes. The Small Forks called him the Cannibal because he would practice cannibalism, feasting on dead dragons, newborn dragons, and dragon eggs. He laired at the back of the Dragonmont, on its eastern side. Throughout history, many would-be dragon tamers had made attempts to ride him a dozen times, and his lair was littered with their bones. The Cannibal's exact age has not yet been stated. Some people on Dragonstone claim that the Cannibal lived on the island even before the Targaryens arrived in 114 BC, a possibility that would make him the oldest living dragon in Westeros.